these frames here, because you've got a vertical member,
Yeah.
and then a horizontal member, right? They have to mate. Those two surfaces have to be the same height.
That's right, yeah, with that.
Yeah. But when we put it all together, there was a slight difference. This, you can see it. It's slightly higher.
Yeah, it's proud, isn't it?
Yeah, it's slightly proud than there. So how you get round that? If you look down the gap there, there's a packing strip.
I see, I can just see it, yes.
Yeah, on the vertical member.
Yeah.
Right, and what it does is, where it's the step height is there. So down here,
Sound effects.
it's hardly anything. The difference. It reduces as it gets down.
Why
And
do,
there
why,
it runs.
Yeah,
It runs out.
yeah, and there it has run out at the bottom, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What was that, a bad design or a bad measurement?
It's just they've been made to how they were originally.
Yeah.
And the original parts
Yeah,
on these corners here, when you see them,
yeah,
they had exactly the same problem.
yeah,
They'd made either this wider than that, or that narrower than that at that point.
yeah,
So all they'd done is they'd knocked that in with a hammer, and this, instead of it being flat and then come round the bend, it came along, went up in the air, and then went round the bend, where they'd knocked it in,
yeah. Oh,
so it became the same height.
oh,
So rather than knocking it in with a hammer and copying what they did then,
yeah,
we've done what it should be done and put a packing strip in.
yeah, because it's not very thick, the packing strip, is it? Same
No, it's
material,
about, I
is
think it's about 50 thou.
it? Yeah,
It's not a lot.
no,
And then what it does, you thin it off as you get to the end, so it runs back out to nothing.
yeah. Oh,
That's what you have to do in all the structure, because you see, even on these, they're not exactly bang on
No.
the same height, but that's negligible. When you rivet it up, one will pull to the other, and that will become the same height then.
yeah, yeah. There's enough play in that, is there, for it to pull it
Yeah,
out?
you can see there's a little bit of play in that,
Yeah.
a little bit of play in that. So when you rivet it all up, it all pulls and
Yeah,
moves the
yeah,
bit.
because you've got 4 rivets there, haven't you?
Yeah. But when you've got a big step height like that,
Yeah.
you can't get rid of it. You do it, and it when we pinned it up, it was creating a crease here
Yeah.
in the skin.
Yeah,
So that's why we fit the packer.
yeah. Oh, good. Thank
But you
you.
find that even on modern aircraft.
They do that, do they?
Yeah. What they do is you fit the skin up, especially the curved skins,
Yeah,
and the drawing will give you an allowance, a gap allowance. And
Yeah.
all they do is they get a feeler gauge and go between the frames and
Yeah.
the skin when it's strapped up.
yeah,
And if it exceeds the feeler gauge, you have to fit a packing strip in. All we do is they fit a packer in,
yeah.
brings it down within tolerance, and then once you get the sealant and you rivet up,
Yeah,
it all pulls
yeah,
in.
it pulls it
Because
tight.
otherwise, instead of a nice smooth surface like that, you'll see a big quilt mark in it.
Yeah,
Well, over the time, it could cause cracks if it's putting it under a load of stress. Because
yeah,
if it's not laying flat, you're either pulling one down or you're pulling one up. So
Yeah.
you're putting load on it, and with it vibrating like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it can cause stress
Yeah.
cracks in it.
yeah. Oh, right. Right. Thanks, Keith. I didn't think I was going to get that. I see you've got all your rivets done, your inserts put in.
Now,
And Kev says your leading edge might be coming next week.
hopefully, well, we heard
Yeah.
this morning from Bob that Sim said the edges hopefully will be with us next week sometime.
So on your trailing edge here, this is the old cast.
Yeah, this is the old one.
Yeah,
You can see where it's
yeah,
all corroded away.
yeah. And does the rivet go right through on this, and you rivet heads
when
both
you
sides?
rivet it up, it comes the skin obviously on this side,
Yeah.
and if you can see this side, I don't know if you can see there.
Oh,
might
okay,
straight
leave
trip
that. I
over
can
that.
come across.
So you pilot it all where the rivets should go,
Yeah. And you'll.
and they go all the way through. This one surface is usually The hole is 90 degrees to one surface because you can't have them both on an angle.
No, no.
So the holes are 90 degrees to this surface. So obviously when you look up, all you can see is all the heads.
Yeah.
All the tails are on top.
Tails are on top.
Tails are on top, yeah. That's how they came out.
Yeah.
That's how they go back in.
So will there be a kind of a cheese head tail?
Yeah, a normal form tail.
Yeah, you won't.
But it will form slightly on an angle because you form it at 90 degrees to the skin.
Yeah.
So it will be nice and square. It won't be like a wedge shape.
No, no.
You form it down and then, you know, bring it down not as you would normally do, and then finish it off. You do it at.
So you finish that off with your reaction block.
Yeah, yeah. You rivet it as normal with a gun and a block. Bring it down because you have to rivet 90 degrees to it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise all you do is push the rivet over.
Yeah.
And then all you do is you just finish the head off to make it look nice and neat.
Yeah.
At 90 degrees to that.
Yeah.
It's just a little knock at the end just to kind of tilt the head a little.
Yeah.
But the head is formed at 90 degrees.
Yeah, you wouldn't put the head that side and then this side put a domed head.
No, because as you put it in the hole.
Oh, of course, as you say, it's not square,
yeah,
is
it's not 90 degrees to this surface.
That's right, yeah.
So one edge of the rivet would touch here, and there'd be a big gap on. You would reaction it because the rivets are soft.
Yeah.
But you would damage you'd damage the skin, and two, you'd cause probably a stress fracture underneath the head.
Yeah.
Where the head's formed to the shank of the rivet.
Yeah.
That bit there, you'd cause a stress fracture between the shank and the head.
Yeah.
And eventually it will crack.
Yeah.
And pop off.
Yeah. So you've got to keep everything square to the skin.
The actual formed head, you know, the manufactured head, is always at 90 degrees.
Yeah. So when you drill these holes then,
drill them at 90 degrees to this surface here.
To that surface, I see, 90 degrees to the underneath surface.
Yeah, they'll come through at 90 degrees.
So the time they come here, that angle is actually double because the rivet will be coming in like that.
No, the rivet will be coming through like that.
Yeah.
So it's at 90 degrees to this surface, but it's at what angle to that surface, whatever that is. Although the extrusion is
slightly tapered, is it?
I think it is tapered, but it's an even taper. I don't think it's flat one side and tapered on the top.
No,
it's just how it is.
Yeah.
But you to put the rivets in properly, you've got to do it that way round. Otherwise, you end up with eventually with all the rivets, they'll just pop off.
Yeah.
The heads will pop off.
Yeah. Oh.
You end up with a all horrible mess.
Yeah. So let's get this right. You drill the holes 90 degrees to this surface.
That's what they are on this job.
On this job, yeah.
Yeah. That's how they came out. The heads were on the lower surface.
Yeah.
And the tails were formed on the top.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing your inspection, if you've got the heads on the bottom, and you're walking around and you're doing the shining, you can see if there's any problem with the thing, if the heads have popped off.
Yes, yeah.
If they're on top, you'll be able to see them.
No, no.
Yeah, I'll draw you a little diagram and I'll show you what I mean. If that's your lower surface, and that's your piece of extrusion, right?
Yep.
That's your piece of extrusion. There's your lower surface, there's your upper surface. You've got your skin on there, and your skin on there, with your frame in there as well. Right, so when the rivet comes through, it'll be at 90 degrees to this surface.
The lower surface, yeah.
Yeah, you drill it through there. So that's at right angles there.
So the head will fit flush to the skin.
So when you actually form the rivet, right? Then you form your tail on it. Because the skin runs at an angle, you form it down, but you would form it slightly
At an angle, yeah.
Yeah, but initially, when you before you finish the rivet off, it will that would exaggerated would be like that. See where that's an angle.
Yeah.
But all you do is you finish it off with the block. The last kind of little tap just takes that to there, so it looks nice and neat.
Yeah.
But you're not actually changing the head or anything. You've already formed the tail. All you're doing is prettying it up.
Yeah. Oh right. You just have to get that at a better angle.
Yeah. It's just so you know you can't form that head against an angled thing, because if you had it against a like on a taper, you'd end up with that sort of gap under the head.
Yeah.
And as you form the rivet, it will push it down. It causes a compression under there, and it will damage the skin, probably ripple the skin, and damage the head underneath. And you probably end up eventually with a crack. The head would pop off.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't formed properly.
Real trouble.
Because that's the main thing as well with the skin, because as you drive it down initially, the rivet would dig into the skin there.
Yeah.
And not touch there, so you would tend to put a crimp in the skin, so you'd put a sharp bit in the skin, plus you'd always, you know, if it's quite acute, the angle, you can cause a crack in the skin, which you wouldn't see because the rivet formed over the crack.
Yeah.
Until, you know, time later when you see the crack start propagating from the holes.
Yeah. Yeah, you never thought about that. I just thought you just put two rivets in either side, bash them up, and that's it. Off you go.
Some places they do. Some aircraft they use a softer rivet, and if you use the softer rivets, you can do that.
Mould it.
And what they do is they call it topping and tailing.
Yeah.
One rivet will be from the bottom, the next rivet will be from the top, and they do it alternate.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of the time they use softer rivets, so as you put it down, it does form that, and you don't get the stresses set up in the fasteners.
Yeah, because stress is a big factor with all these aircraft and the manufacturing.
Yeah.
Oh, I learnt something. I'm pleased I come now.
It all depends on what material riveting into.
Yeah.
It's all got to be taken into account.
Yeah. So even though you've drilled the whole pilot holes that side, you'll be putting the main hole in from this side, the underneath.
Yeah. The pilots are in the top surge because originally they were going to put that extrusion back in until they got some made.
Yeah.
So we had to have the holes in there to pick them up.
Yeah.
But then after I drilled all the holes, they decided, no, we're going to get some new ones. So luckily I only drilled them a 1/16 of an inch.
Yeah.
And they've got to be opened up to an 1/8.
Yeah.
So any slightly mismatch, it should be alright. But I've had the two sets of skins on, and that's where I've got these holes from. The bottom and top skins have already been matched up.
Yeah.
Because I've drilled through, and it's gone from one pilot to the other pilot.
So you're okay.
They're alright.
Yeah. When you come to drilling the holes in the trailing edge, will you drill them on a bench or will you put them on?
Oh no, it will all be done on the job.
Yeah. So your pilot holes you can then use to...
Yeah, what you do is you use a drill block with many different forms. It's a made up machined block. And these are all different size holes with different size reamers or drills or whatever. And when you put it onto the surface, and it will sit at 90 degrees to your surface.
Yeah. So it's just a guide for your drill.
Yeah, it's drill guides.
Drill guides, yeah.
Yeah. And another sort of
Yeah.
one.
Otherwise you can start putting them in at different angles, couldn't you?
Yeah, same sort of thing. Which is a drill guide. They call them egg cups. So that's a plastic one, and all you do is you screw the different sized pieces into it.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So you can use the same block,
Yeah.
and you just screw different ones in.
Yeah.
But that's got 3 legs on it.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ones. There's the old type ones are like a bar where you drop little ones in
Yeah.
of different size and then hold it in position and do it. There's lots of different things, but it's just to make sure that you're at 90 degrees to the surface you're drilling.
Countersink.
Right, thanks very
So
much,
what's
lads.